Always a pleasure to have you. Do you think calling a woman a bird is sexist?
Well, listen, I was actually called a fit bird last night. I was out with a girlfriend
Quite
and I was
rightly, Lizzie, if
very
I may say so.
well, I was very flattered. He thought I was younger than my age and he called me a fit bird. And as you've said, honestly, Kevin, this word has been around, I mean, for 700 or not more years. And I think this is where it's becoming too much. You know, we are having to change our own dictionary and you can't stifle people the way they communicate, the words they use, and especially in a court. I mean, that's what they're there for. And I think it's really sad days when we can't have a bit of fun. We've got to be so careful what we say. As you said, are we allowed to say the word, wench? Are we allowed to call boys geezers, blokes?
Yeah.
Australians call girls Sheilas. I mean, where does it stop?
Yeah, good point. You see, what we're talking about is the vernacular, colloquial language. So if I say, oh yeah, I met this bird last night, I don't think it's sexist. I think it's a reference using a colloquial word. Just as you might say, I met this bloke last night, or I met this geezer last night. So I accept that the judge, what the judge is saying is perhaps it's not the wisest term to refer to your colleagues at work as. That's probably not a good idea. But in the general scheme of things, is he, the judge, demonizing just a normal form of language? By saying, look at that bird, I'm not saying look at that sex object, look at that lowly creature that happens to be female. I'm not looking down on that person. I'm just using a word for the woman, for a woman. It is a word.
And if you actually look this word up in the Urban English Dictionary, which I have this evening, Kevin, it means with colourful dress. It's very visually pleasant. They're all pleasantries. There are no sinister connotations whatsoever. It's like a compliment saying a girl, there's my other half. Someone I knew said, he's a real sort. Are we able to say that? Where does this stop? And I think where this judge is really wrong, we are stifling words and communication, and especially in a court. And, I do feel this is really wrong. I do think it's like woke gone mad. It's like the fun police. We're so scared to offend now, Kevin, in society. We're scared to say certain wording. And we've got to be so careful. And I really am not offended if someone calls me a bird, and as if I would call you a geezer or a bloke. I'm sure you wouldn't take offence. And it's got out of hand. And I'm sorry. Yeah. And ban it all you want. It still gives me 7 points on a Scrabble board. And I won the other night with bird.
There you go. You see, that's a very useful word. As you say, if you called me a geezer or a fella or a bloke, I think that's just descriptive. You're just describing, using colloquial terms to describe a male. Just as if I called you a bird, I'm using a descriptive word for a female. I don't think it's necessarily sexist.
Well, I don't think it is. And I'm sitting here with all Shakespeare's words. Are they all going to be banned? Like wench, we could go on. And I think we really are needing to have a look at ourselves. It's like woke gone mad. And I think it is very sad. And I don't agree with banning things, Kevin. I don't know about you.
No,
but I think in general, it's a bad thing. And if we start banning it, it's like banning books. Who wants to be in that race to the bottom? It just starts this thing. And I really don't agree with banning words. And I think it's very sad with this judge today. And I don't agree with him one bit.
It's a good point. As I say, I mean, I get what he's coming from. When he says it's plainly sexist, I don't agree with him. But I do sort of semi-agree with him that it's perhaps foolish to use those kind of terms in the office. Go and talk to the bird in accounts. That doesn't sound right. But, I don't know what young blokes are like these days. It's been a fair few years since I was a young bloke. But
I don't know about that, Kevin.
I think it has. I think it has, Lizzie. I think we can accept that. But when I was a young bloke, with my mates sitting around or standing around at the bar, and we weren't allowed to use the word bird for women, it would have killed off about 50% of our conversation.
I know, but it means your girlfriend or your other half. And, there are
my bird.
terms that we all use. And we're going to have to be not using any of the English dictionary at the moment. We're not allowed to, because it's going to offend, and it's very sad, I think, in some respects. And as I said, I was called a fit bird last night. I was very happy with that, Kevin.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy again if I'm called it. But I do think, this is sad, because it's stopping communication. It's stopping words we know and terms we know in areas as well. And I really hope that people still use the word bird. I certainly will, and I'm sure my fellow mates will, and I'm sure you will.
well, I mean, I don't use it massively, but I do quite enjoy turning up to posh middle-class dinner parties in fashionable North London and introducing my wife to people as, this is my bird, Henrietta. It's usually a bit of a showstopper, but actually everybody just laughs about it. They laugh about it.
I know, but I think we need to understand the sentiment and not be offended. And this is where it's going all wrong. I'm sorry, in a court, if this is what he said, the judge, sorry, get a life. And I'm quite happy to be called a bird.
I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right, Lizzie. I mean, what we're talking about here is the cancellation of language. And we don't like cancel culture, and we certainly don't like cancelling language. And I agree, Lizzie, you're a fit bird.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. Always a pleasure to talk. Lizzie.